everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. I'm so happy to start this series. So, um, probably the only person that is here right now is here by accident because the stream is supposed to start at 11. I was just early myself. But anyway, welcome. It's glad to have you here. Please just know that uh, you can join at any time. Uh, if you want to join, you can join. You just press the plus button on the center, on the mid center of your screen. No, I think that's the bottom center of your screen. You see that if you want to join me, you join me. Um, all right. Now let's talk about this. There are a lot of things in this country, in our culture that has somehow become taboos. And in order for us to heal, we have to discuss them. And I don't think there's any way in discussing these things without actually being authentic and talking about what's happening in the truest terms of what actually happened. Now, there is a usual cultural pressure to like to protect the family name and to just make things look as rosy. But the reality is that life is not rosy. Life is not always beautiful. You get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I love nature. Nature is so beautiful. Nature is so wonderful." And who is saying he loves nature and that nature is wonderful, nature is beautiful, he doesn't fully understand nature. He only understands one aspect of nature, the positive side of nature. Because when you are in a serene environment and then the weather is fine, you are seeing good sceneries, wow, it looks good. But then you don't want to see the other side of nature. You don't want to see a volcanic eruption. You don't want to see an earthquake. You don't want to see, tornadoes. You don't want to see some very bad aspects of nature. Well, it is what it is. Now, let's get to the cocoa of the matter. It is my hope that whoever joins today's brief podcast is somebody who has had this kind of experience, who has come from, you know, a polygamous family and who has grown up in a polygamous family. And if you have grown up in a polygamous family, then this discussion is going to be quite easy and quite understandable. Now, let me explain. Let's explore life in polygamous families. The whole reason of this episode is trying to explore life in polygamous families. And if you have experience of that, um, I don't think it's the best of lives in reality, really. It is not. It is not a healthy environment to be in, especially polygamous families where all the wives are put in one same environment and then all the children and the wives have to compete, for the favor and attention of the father who is a semi think God, whatever. And if you have a traditional father who tries to lead, you know, um, in an authoritative manner and speaks to you always as if he's speaking, as if it's God that gives him, commandments, then you're going to have a very, very different um, kind of upbringing. And if you are young, it's going to really, really affect you. So the essence of this series today is for us to be able to create a safe space I really want I really want to grow a community of people who have grown up in polygamous relationships, in polygamous homes, who have had this experience, so that we would have a safe space to, and we have our first person who's trying to join, but I think it's probably the network from there. Anyway, you can still try again. I think it's okay. It's Husi. Husi. Hey, welcome, 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 welcome. Wow. Who else? Who is the best person to be here to talk about this is with me? Keep trying. I'm sure you are going to get back on track, and then we're going to have a wonderful discussion. Although it's going to be short, although it's going to be short, we're still going to have a wonderful discussion. And you can, okay, we're back. Um, so what I was trying to say is that I want to create a community of a lot of people. Right now, the trajectory is that in Nigeria, people are no longer marrying two, three, four wives again. Economic realities have forced those kind of situations not to happen more frequently. And the people who usually can afford that usually have the means of, taking care of them. And the standards have changed to the point usually different wives have different rules. Unlike what we experienced when growing up, and our reality, and our experience, our socialization processes, we still carry the memories, the trauma, the experiences into adulthood, and we still act them out. And this space is a safe space for any person who has grown up in a polygamous relationship, in a polygamous household, and has had the experience, and to come and have a safe space. Let's use it for healing, for humor, for retelling stories. There is a lot to be said, and the way things were set up then, it was a mix of different things. And being a child is always a good grace, a good experience. The very fact that you are a child and you are innocent, innocent of the true evil of the world, and you can be taken advantage of, actually make these things very, very difficult. Now, what I want to encourage all of us here to do is not be shy to tell of our vulnerabilities, because, yeah, we did suffer. I would talk, I would satisfy myself, and what I went through, to grow in a polygamous family. Now, in fact, my own case is double, because not only did I come broken, uh, and the polygamous family that I happened to grow up in, my dad and my mom were not there. Like, I grew up in a completely different polygamous family, and that's important because it is bad enough that you do not have, a father and a mother, you know, directly supervising you, who have naturally your best interest at heart, and then finding yourself in an odd place and in an odd time, and not really understanding what is going on at a very young age. That was such a trauma, such a trauma. But there is power in storytelling. Now you see, if you have had a lot of injustices done to you when you were young or in your past, and you have never opportunity to speak it out, to tell other people, and for other people to help you, go through it and heal, then that trauma, that experience will still haunt you. And if you are looking for the engine of trauma, the engine of a dystopian authoritarianism, is go to Nigeria, especially northern Nigerian polygamous families, where usually, especially in the 90s, 80s, when the economy was quite good, because at that time Nigeria was quite cultural, and father figures were not, the ideal. I don't know where we got all those things from. That was not the nature of the prophet. Uh, he has always been the type that is gentle with his family and everybody that comes across it. So it is what it is. Now, let me introduce myself. My name is Hassan Abdullahi, sometimes known as Valiant, and that Valiant is a nickname actually. Somebody gave it to me, and it has something to do with football, but that's not what's relevant now. Um, I'm in my late 30s, and I have grown up. I left my mother, I think, at the age of 3.5 or so, getting to 4, and that was when I started living in a polygamous family. Now, at the time when my father and mother's went to the hills, she was still pregnant with us. We were twins, and eventually, our father's family, they had to um, allow her to, deliver us and then grow up a bit, and then they just yanked off us, yanked us off her. These children cheat about, and from Meduguri, we were taken to Sokoto. Now that was the first cultural shock. Imagine at the age of 4, you are taken from Meduguri to Sokoto, and then when you get to Sokoto, it's a completely different environment. Um, First of all, our dad is a Nupe man. So, as a Nupe man, uh, he even didn't take us back. It was his elder brother who took us back and took us to his home in Sokoto, and we had to grow up there. And when we went there, like in that house, he had 3 wives, 3 wives, and all of them had their own children. All of them had their own, you know, so that house was a house of promotion and drama. But personally, as a child, what I would say is that ever since I got to the age of 4 and then started living in that environment, um, I have always been on the lookout because I could remember vividly my first memories of me being in a polygamous family is this kind of compromise of a sense of justice. Like somehow I just felt like like this is unjust. Something unjust is happening to me, but I couldn't explain because I was too young, you know. And we were 3, me and my 2 sisters, that were taken there. Yeah. So you know, uh, usually people prey on the vulnerable, and if you're vulnerable, people would prey on you. Now, my experience has been harrowing as that of my sisters. Um, it's no longer use. It's no longer. There's no need to, you know, be euphemistic about anything or anyone. it doesn't really make any difference. What we are trying to do is heal, and healing requires that you put it out there. And so uh, usually what happens in polygamous families is that there is this de facto competition between different wives, and it is done in such a subtle way that if you are not, conversant in that environment, you'll be put in trouble all the time. Now, I have had myself put in trouble so many times that I cannot remember. And usually, what it's like is that there is this saying that women do not have the capacity to love children that are not biologically theirs. Somehow, it kind of makes sense, because if you look at the statistics, then you would understand that truly women do not really have the capacity to, love children that are not theirs. They may pretend to, but it is not there. And if you are looking for the most intuitive human being, look for a child. A child knows just by the little tweak of your face, just a little cue, a little snap, a little slur, and the child understands where you're going, and he understands that what you're insinuating is not true. You do not really love the child, or really care about the child, or anything like that. So it happened to be that God rest his soul, my uncle, the one that I grew up in his place. His glasses are better. My God, this kid is so bright. I tell myself. Yes. All right then. So we 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 instantly discovered that this is a hostile environment, because women tend to not care about children that are not theirs, and they only care about children that are theirs. So when the father figure is around, they pretend to like care about you, but when he's done, they don't really care about you. And there's something that I remember very vividly. When I was in Maiduguri, before we were, yanked up our mother and taken to Sokoto, I had this habit, because I usually was staying with my auntie, and I have this habit of, always laying my head, on her laps. And the unfortunate day that I did that, which one of the women of the house, I was 4 years old, and this woman told me that this should be the last time that I should put my head on her laps. She told me point blank. She told me point blank that, look, I am not your mother. Don't you ever dare put your head on my laps. I was not yet 5 years old. I was 4 or 3, almost 4 or 3, almost 4 or 4, maybe in a month or so. That happened to me. And that is so burned into my memory, uh, that I realized, okay. So this is what it's going to be like now. Now, there's a lot of setups, a lot of uh, you know, power games being played, and it's a pending of influence that usually happens within uh, this kind of homes. We see subtle, subtle, subterfuge, subtle way of accusing you and making you look bad. And it's all everything is competitive. Like you go to school and you do well, you bring your results, and if you are not careful, doing well is supposed to be something that is good, right? But if you do not have a mother at house who would actually celebrate your doing well, your doing well could be a bad omen for you. Imagine having to live in that environment where coming first in a house is actually bad for you because that will make the other women, the other wives jealous, and then the other children too jealous, and then that would mean that you're going to suffer. I saw a lot of cruelty because at the age of 4, it's expected that you will wet the bed, and well, that is just expected, isn't it? But then what really happened was that whenever any of us, you know, um, well, what a pleasant surprise. Welcome to the stream.
Hello, can you hear me?
Of course, I can hear you, one man. Welcome to the stream.
All right. Good to be here. Where are we going out? Big platform.
Well, I know we're still on YouTube. It's a new feature. You can actually just collaborate and have somebody come.
Apologies
And
that I'm not showing my face. I don't have a t-shirt. I don't have a shirt on. I'm just settling my little boy to sleep.
yeah, okay, you're doing well. I'm trying to talk about something very quite it's quite common in northern Nigeria. I don't think it is in southern Nigeria because I think the southerners abandoned polygamy earlier than the northerners. Yeah, even right now, the northerners are not actually really ready to abandon, polygamy. It's just that the economic situation is forcing them to do to do just that because it's no longer sustainable, right? So that's the case. Now, um, what I'm trying to do today is talk about how people who have had these experiences come and let's use this opportunity as a safe space so that we can tell our stories and use it as a form of healing, some form of humor, some nostalgia, and yeah, and then we would be doing this kind of sessions in the future more often, because I know there is a great amount of people who have lived in polygamous families, and life is what it is, everybody has his own experiences. So I'm trying to just lay out my own experience. I'm a twin because my name is Hassan. I have a Husseina. So my twin sister, I have she's female and she is Husseina. And then I have an elder sister who is an Amina. So when our mother had us and our dad was still living in Maiduguri at that time, um, uh, he eventually left Maiduguri for Kaduna. And when he left Maiduguri for Kaduna, he never looked back again. So we were together with our mom up until around 3.5 to 4 years old, and then he just decided young us off like that. And then my first memory of living in a polygamous family. Imagine growing up to almost 4 years old in the arms of my mom, my aunts, my grandmom, always like being revered, loved, kissed, and then put in an environment where there are 3 wives, uh, a very big household that there are like 15 children, and we had like boys who are like university students who came from the village and that are in the boys' quarters. So my first vivid example of injustice and evil in life is that so when I was like very young, I had this habit of like using the laps of my mother as some kind of to just adjust my head always. So it has just it's something you expect of a child to just be clingy, that kind of clinginess. Now I had the misfortune of putting my head on the laps of one of the wives in that house in Sokoto in 1992 or 3. And she told me point blank, imagine a 30 something year old woman looking into the eyes of a 3.5 year old child and telling him, look, I am not your mother, and don't you dare ever put your head on my laps again. She told me that, and that was my first sense of my. It didn't really make sense to me because I have never actually experienced evil or injustice like that. But then it did register, and it's so hardwired into my brain like that. Right now, I am even reliving it. Now, this is therapy for me, like just explaining it this way. Now, it did not just stop there. Okay, there were 3 wives and a lot of children. So we go to school, we go to Islamia, we do what we have to do, and chores are distributed around the house such that you do this, you do that. But then women have this way of manipulating what's actually the reality if they want to put you in trouble. So what they usually do is they set you up. Um, they make sure that the situation is right, and who is the mother-in-law is close. And then at that moment, they just say something that points to you doing something wrong, even if the context is not right, because you are already afraid and intimidated by a series of this kind of setups and betrayals. You say nothing, and then slowly she begins to believe that you are a bad person and you are evil. Now she has set that trap already for you, and you have fallen. You cannot compare the intelligence of a 4 year old and a 30-year-old woman. A 30-year-old woman who has bad intentions. Okay. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it also, of course, is also the fact that uh you know we go to school, and then after each term there is usually these results that they give you, and if you come first, second, third, fourth, whatever, yeah, we bring it to our uncle, and then he kind of praises those who did well, and then he scolds the ones that did bad. You know, so being the being that we're living in a house and a family that we had nobody to actually really protect us. Coming first and doing good in school was not really in our favor because actually got us more in trouble than the past. Because if you do come first, you are more likely to generate uh a lot of what do they call it, envy, and some people will actually go as far as trying to set you up Some will literally bully you. I have had the misfortune of okay, so at the point we were like 15, and we're doing Islamic reading, that's Quranic recitation. So our eldest sister, um, uh, cousin sister, I think she is like the age gap between me and her is like 16 years or so. She's very, very good. She could even, uh, she could even be like, she could warn me, like, so she was the first to actually complete the Quran and then did what she had to do. And we call it Soka in Hausa. In Anchika is Soka. If people say you've done Soka, that means you have actually read all the chapters of the Quran, and now you are doing quite. You can now start like doing the real memorization, like trying to cram it. But you can read it and read it very well from cover to cover. That was what happened. So um, the difference between me and our eldest sister or cousin sister was 16 years. She was the first to finish, and in that pecking order, I was third to the last. Sorry, I was third to the last, and then I came, and then I did my soccer after her. Like there were 10 different people in between us. Now that caused me a lot of problems. And instead of to become some sort of, you know, uh, sense of pride and that people will like want to, you know, encourage you to do better in life. No, 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 no. It didn't become that way. It became that the women just saw me as competition, undeserved competition against their own children, um, and that instead of their children making it, here was this guy here just doing good, and they were not happy about it. Now, women have these subtle ways of punishing you, and in so many different ways, so many different ways. One man, don't worry. You can drop. I know you are not. I didn't even plan to go live today. I just wanted to just put this out and I want to. I really want to grow this channel. I've been putting it. I've been putting it forward. So I just decided to just do it. So now I'm going to be just be doing these videos, and I want this to be therapy, and for myself and for people like me. I know, and I know there are a lot of us. So this kind of injustices continued, and I was young. I was four. I had two sisters. Two sisters. Uh, these two sisters of mine. Oh my God. Oh my God. They did suffer. They did suffer. And what actually really broke me and hurt me the most was the fact that I was myself weak. I was just 4 years old. I couldn't defend them. Uh, say, for example, you are going and then you tripped, and then maybe a glass of water splashed and then on the floor or something like that. What should be like a commensurate punishment for something like that? It should just be some scolding and hey, watch where you're going or things like that. No, 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 no. For us, it was not like that. Oh my God, you make a mistake in that house. Oh my God, oh my God. First they say kneel down, hands up, close your eyes. Somebody go and get me in, and then before you know it, it's bulala, 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 bulala. And that is the way we grew. Uh, God bless the soul of our uncle, who, was the father figure at that time. He was not somebody who was always at home, but he did his best as he could. But he is also human. Like, yeah, what do you expect? Uh, and he's late now. There are a lot of good memories, and as a father figure, he did his best considering his circumstances. So, like, this man was not poor, but that was hell. It was hell because it's a polygamous family, and there was no one to protect us. So when I hear people say that women do not have the capacity to love children that are not theirs, I actually believe it because it is my lived experience. And because of that, even right now, as an adult, my whole attitude towards life is I'm always looking over my shoulder. I'm always looking over my shoulder wherever I am. And somehow that has actually helped me in becoming a very good multitasker because wherever I work, I kind of tend to do different things at the same time. I'm paying attention to the environment. I'm trying to mitigate and stop the possibility of somebody having even the opportunity to set me up in the first place. It has really affected me mentally. A lot of unresolved trauma. So that was for me, and then having to watch my sister suffer, and that was also torturous. And it continued for a while. Between the ages of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we just accepted it as our fate. Like I remember one night, we sat down outside the tree. I do not know if my sisters really remember about this time, but it was one hell of a time. We were still young. I think we were like 5, 6, and as at that time, and then we were talking about um, our lives and what would be happening in Maiduguri right now. We're thinking about our mother, things like that. Oh my god. Yeah, it was just a beauty of growing up. Um, I have friends who also grew up in polygamous families. Yeah, others, yeah, in some families it is better than others. But then the culture still remains that it's not it's not the right environment for a child to grow. I do not know why in Africa, when we do our own kind of polygamy, it is usually at the expense of others, and others have to be dehumanized for others to feel as if they're in control. Um, Life has really, really started giving me, giving us huge blows, me and my two sisters, right from a very, very early age. And well, we have actually now grown up to be like uh, members, responsible members of society, but we also carry a lot of trauma uh, because when you've been abused and a lot of injustice has been done to you, and there was no no compensation. Well, is it compensation? Is it compensation or nobody actually even tried to rectify anything? Yeah, it was just taken to be normal. So you grow up with the fact that you feel as if the world is always against you. That kind of feeling actually, you know, damages you psychologically. And I it firsthand. You can become very aggressive. You can become very temperate, and if trauma, if you do not heal, and you have children, you can pass that trauma to them, and that's very very unfortunate. That's very very unfortunate. So polygamous families uh, have their good ups, their advantages, and they have their disadvantages. For me, it was total disadvantage. Yeah, I had the advantage of living with my cousins who are good people, who are, it is not their fault that their mothers are in their, that they had the privilege of living with their mothers and their fathers. We didn't have that. And that was, one wicked trick of life. But that is life. That is what happened. And my mom is actually a second wife to my dad. She's not the first wife. So as much as sometimes I try to look at things and say, wow, how have I been so wrong? Why did the world treat me this way? Why am I so unlucky? I am not that unlucky if you look at it in a certain sense because hey, here I am. I am alive. If that marriage had not taken place, I won't be here. So if there's one thing that make me overlook these things is the fact that I am here and it is what it is. Um, so I have survived a lot of uh, vaccinations against me, bullying. I remember at the point we were staying in Jos, and I would be bullied at home. Um, everyone will bully me. Everyone. The wife, the children, her sister, even the mates. They bully me, and they bully me around my hate of the color green. There is this plates that they serve food in, and it's in color. It's in color green, and I hated the color. Somehow, I was just repulsed by the color, and I complained that I didn't want it. Now, the more I complained that I didn't want it, the more they did it. And what hurt me was the fact that even the woman of the house who was supposed to protect me actually joined in the parade, in the charade, and was like, yay. She was encouraging the bullying, and that felt so alone. And that was in the 90s. It was not like the times you just take the phone and call your mother and say, hey ma, this is what I'm facing. So and then somebody will tell you, no, I was just like 6, 7 years old and I was facing all that. And can you imagine? Yeah, in that house when we stayed in Jos, they kept bullying me by my physical appearance. They said that yeah, I had my lips are elongated. They are so elongated and pointy that my lips are it's just like the tip of a needle. So they call me may King Allura, may King Allura. And I was a young child. I was really disturbed by that. I was really bullied by that. And it was not a one-time thing. You see, this serving me with a green plate. Literally, I was served with a green plate for over 2 years. Green plate, the one that I did not like. So it was like uh, the standard that what I didn't like was what would be done to me, and what I like is what wouldn't be done to me. That was how I grew up. This is not like a poor family, it's a middle class family, but uh, the psychological torture is just out of this world, and that was what I had to consider. Now, as at that time, I was separated from my sisters who were living in Zaria, and I was the one who was even doing better. Even at that, I was the one who was even doing better because um I later realized, AB, I later realized that those people who were calling me ugly and that I had lips, when I grew up, I realized that it was actually because they were all ugly. That was why they were so insecure that they had to bully me and make me feel bad about myself that I was ugly. Ebi, Barka da zuwa. It's good to have you here. Welcome. Uh, uh, I don't know about you. If you grew up in a polygamous family, I know a lot of like 70s, 80s, probably if they are northern, probably grew up in polygamous families. And Bema, to ai yanzu ba wani abu ai yanzu ai ba ma mai bakin allura ba kuma mai bakin harsashi ne ban damu ba zai zama wani matsala ba saboda I have had time to to come to terms with reality and to heal. Uh, kawai dai these stories need to be told ne kawai the way they are. And there will be time. This is a series that I want to do. So it's going to take we're going to take different dimensions of things like this and talk about it. And my vision is for us to have a community of people who have up in polygamous um, homes, especially polygamous homes where the wives are staying in one compound because that is the kind of polygamous home I grew up in. And in those kind of homes, the competition is fierce. It's fierce, so fierce, and everything good can be bad. Everything bad, uh, if you have the right support, can be good for you. Like that's just the reality. So, um, in just for 2 years, I was served with a green plate because I hated the green, and they were singing. They even made a song for me, uh, something along the line of uh, 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 no, I will not. I will not say it because I don't trust it. I don't trust you. You are singing for me, and I give you PTSD because it was not really funny for me at that time, really. But it was something like bath with what was something medicated so that the green juice will go. Yeah, there was I think it was a commercial on NTA about some and then talking about something green and it irritated me and I showed it to them and that was the reason why even if I'm going to drink water. If somebody had to pass the cup to me, that person would have to make sure that it's a green cup. That was how tortured I was. That was one part of the torture. Another part of the torture was always telling me that I am ugly, that I am ugly. I don't want to even tell you where it's come from, most of them, but usually the people who come from those parts of Nigeria are very are not like uh, I don't say I would say ugly, but they are not aesthetically appealing. It was after I grew up that I actually discovered that so this is nothing but envy. And another thing too that really did me in was the fact that when we sit watching movies, in the 90s, um, late at night, NTA would play Indiana Jones or Doctor Who or some sort of movie like that, and people would watch. So the father figure, our uncle in that house, usually, he travels a lot. So, well, when he's not around, everybody gets a license to bully us the way they like. Even when he's around, it is easier. When he's not around, it's more difficult for us. So that continued um, up until uh, he was transferred from Sokoto to Jos, yes, to Jos. And that it was in Jos that I suffered the green thing and uh, the constant bullying that I was an ugly person. And then I would do well at school, and then I'll come back home. Um, my uncle, who is my father figure, would praise me in his own way, and then instead of me to like form of praise or something, I'll get a casual type of any, and then the body language of every other person would be very very poor towards me just because I did well in school. You know, things like that. And it continued. Well, at some point, we left Josh and he was transferred to Abuja. So when he was transferred to Abuja, now this man had three wives. So what he actually did was carry one to Jos. And then when he was transferred from Jos to Abuja, he took that one from Jos to Abuja. And then the remaining two were left in Zaria. Now, my two sisters were left in Zaria. And my those two sisters, oh my God, they saw hell. Compared to me, I would say I was paradise. They really helped because in that Zaria household, usually on average there are like 25, 30 people in the house. Um, we usually finish a bag of rice in 6, 7 days. Such a very big house. So and the volume of work is so much. And those women would not ever send their children to do anything. It was always Aminata Shideki, Husainata Shideki, Aminata Shideki, Husainata Shideki. That was how they grew up. And there was no mercy, no empathy. That was how my sisters grew up. And what was traumatic about it was the fact that I was helpless myself to help them because we were traumatized together. And if a child is brought into a traumatic environment early enough, he could develop Stockholm syndrome. Now, Stockholm syndrome is usually to see um, your tormentor as some sort of savior. Meanwhile, in the real sense, he is your tormentor. And there was an element of that too. It happened. It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate, but that was kind of part of my lived experience. This is the first part of this aspects, and we're going to talk about. Today, I talked about a lot of the negatives, and I'll try and talk about a lot of the positives in my next trip because people really need to understand that when you see somebody and you see their personalities, a lot has happened for them to become what they are today, and it's unfortunate that you know it had to be that way. But when you look at it, that is the way God has destined it to be, and you're always going to you're always going to gain experience from any difficulty if you survive it. And that's the way life is. And Kumaya, you see that you're still better than somebody. So you remain grateful to God that you are at least getting some sort of, you know, relief like that. But as far as love, unconditional love, for the first 19 years of my life, when I was conscious. because those first 3 years, like nobody actually really remembers for his first 3, 4 years, but from 4 to 19, no, no, no. I, I, there was something like love. Yeah. Well, my mom would travel from time to time to come and see us, but my mom is a civil servant. She worked at the University of Maiduguri. So when my dad was in Maiduguri, like that was when they got married. So when they divorced, he went back to Kaduna, and she stayed in Maiduguri. And she refused to take us, and then and asked us to go to his elder brother, and then his elder brother had wives, and those 3 wives had their own children, and then suddenly another 3 children are brought into the house, and those 3 children became like you know um, just like Cinderella. The story of Cinderella. So I'm literally the black sheep, and it, a lot has happened. A lot of what has gone on the train to a man. Alhamdulillah, and yeah. Today we started with the negatives because it is the negatives that live with people for a long time. I want this channel to be a safe space for people like me who have had this kind of experiences to come and tell their stories, because actually talking about these things can it can heal you, but keeping it down, no, 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 that's not healing, and it causes more harm than it does good. That is why I decided to start doing this. So I'm going to uh, change my format in the next couple of days or weeks. I'm working on. I'm trying to convert my library into a mini studio. I'm not comfortable, doing content in my room and all that. But let me just say this before I go. I want to thank everyone who made time to join and listen. And I also want to let you guys know that this is just the beginning of Wazobia Dark Room and the kind of topics we are going to discuss that are, you know, usually, usually very, very northern in nature. And I hope I get to entertain you. I know I have one very bad habit. I wish I could, just wave my hand and get it over with, but it doesn't work like that. I always say this arms, and as if I'm a stammerer. But it's not like that. It's just because English is not my first language, and I had to learn English in school. That is just it. If I were to be speaking Hausa, there is no in my Magana. And Abi now go this to say thank you very, very much for coming in and saying hi. I appreciate you. One man, thank you very much. My twin sister actually showed up, but she was not able to. I know she's listening. Uh, Maybe in some other uh in the next episode, we're going to have the time to talk about this. Uh, on that note, Amy, now what is to say, Allah Saka Alkhairi. Uh, my belief is that duk wanda ka gani yadda Allah ya yi shi, Allah ya kaddara mishi wani abu, and that uh, there is destiny. Whatever it is that comes your way, it is because God wants to test you, and God is preparing you for something bigger. They say diamonds are made under pressure, and yeah, that's it. There's always a lesson to take in life, no matter how difficult the circumstances are. Even though what has happened, and it's now history, we still carry the trauma, and we still need to heal. So, before I go, this is what Dark Room as Valiant. This is the Northern Nigerian centric social, economic, and even international, uh, activities that impacts us are discussed. And we're not just discussing, we want to find a solution. Now, the very fact that we're what we're doing, I'm doing what I'm doing today, um, to talk about things like this that are quite personal, uh, to, to be vulnerable in front of the world, um, is to take personal responsibility for my own mental health. And I hope you too will see the logic in that and do that, because you don't have to not have a limb, or not not be able to see or not be able to hear before you can have some form of disability. If you have a mental problem, then you can be also mentally disabled. On that note, guys, keep an eye on this channel. There's a lot coming, whole lot, especially stories that happened that you wouldn't even believe, that some people are that cruel. And then stories that also happen that you wouldn't even believe, that there are some people who are angels. Angels. I will never forget the same woman, that when I was like 3 years old, decided to put my head on her lap while I was feeling sleepy, and then looked me in the eye and told me that I should never call her by the name I used to call her, and that she is not my mother, and that she does not care about me. She told me that point blank. The same woman had somebody come to who is like a relative of us, come to our home in Zaria at some point. And could you believe that that guy was like somebody sent from God, even though she, his sister or auntie or whatever was the representative of wickedness and blackmail and all snake-like characteristics. This guy actually was always there for us, trying to help us, trying to navigate anything in any way he could to defend us, all until he left. And I show so much respect. So you see, from evil there can be good, and from good there can be evil. So on that note, guys, I pray for healing for everyone, and especially for mental health. It begins with these kinds of approaches, having safe spaces to talk about these things. There's nothing wrong in talking about your experiences, get them out there, so that at least you and your mind will feel relieved. And on that note, I say good night, and say Safi. Nobody should say AB for taking your time, and nobody should say one man for taking your time. And person, thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much for taking your time and joining this stream. I'm going to try to. I'm trying Riverside, one application like that. I have not yet perfectly figured it out, but when I do, it's just like StreamYard. Maybe I could do more people who could come online, and then we can discuss this. Thank you very much, and good night. I wish you all the best, and my regards to your families too. All the best, guys. Bye bye.